Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Lead-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO Lead-In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today we are here with Deanna Smith from Deanna's Gluten-Free Bakery. How are you today?
I'm super fabulous.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your business. It's so exciting.
Well, we've been in business for 15 years, and we started by accident. We're an accidental company. I made a loaf of bread for my cousin when she was 3. She is now, I think, 21. So it's been a long journey, but it's been really, really good. Like I said, I made some bread for a 3-year-old, and she took it to preschool. People started calling me, "Where can I buy your bread?" I said, I don't sell it, but I'll make you an extra loaf on Sunday. And so 1 loaf turned into 2 loaves, turned into 12 loaves, and I thought, oh my gosh, what is going on here? People were just calling me. So I did my homework, and I improved my recipe, and I opened up a bakery. And so we've been rolling in the dough ever since.
Rolling in the dough. I love it. That's a little bakery humor, I guess.
Yes, it is.
So you started out with just bread, and now how many different items do you make?
Oh my goodness. We have over 100 SKUs, but I have hundreds and hundreds of recipes and formulas. When I started, people didn't even know what gluten was, and I always got the reaction, I like my glucose anyway. And I would just look at them and say, well, it's gluten. And they would just look so confused, like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? And at the time, it was a really tough economy. It was 2005 when I created my recipe. By 2008, I was opening up a bakery. And people were telling me, don't you know what's going on? We're having an economic situation. You need to go get a job. Oh, by the way, I have a friend. They can hire you as their secretary. And I just looked at them and said, no, that's not where I'm going. But thank you. And I just kept going. And it was really rough in the beginning, but one day led to the next, and we got lots of big accounts early on. My biggest account right away was Whole Foods. And about a year later, we were private labeling for Trader Joe's. And so it really threw us into the mix. I started off as a cafe where I was serving pizzas and sandwiches and salads and pasta, all gluten-free, of course. Mm-hmm. And I had 3 formulas of bread. I had a whole grain, a multigrain, and a cinnamon raisin. And that was it. And then pizza crust. So I opened up the cafe. We were serving coffee and pastries in the morning, and then pizzas and sandwiches during the day. Well, once I got Trader Joe's, the cafe went away, and I dropped in these huge ovens, and we became full service, high production. And ever since, we've just been making a lot of bread.
A lot of bread.
A lot of bread.
A lot of bread. So do you also make, like, you mentioned cinnamon raisin. I'm sure there's cinnamon buns in there.
Surprisingly, we don't do a cinnamon roll or a cinnamon bun, but we do a cinnamon muffin top. And I did the muffin tops because I would do a test dollop of dough from every loaf that I made. I would get a little dollop and I would put it on the side, and that would be my test to make sure that it tastes good without getting into my inventory. So people started saying, well, can I have that piece? And then I thought, oh, okay, well, let's just make these muffin tops. They weren't really scones and they weren't muffins, and they were just like the top of the muffin, and that's what they were called. So
delicious. Mm-hmm. So do you have one word that you really feel describes you?
Me or my bakery?
You.
Oh, relentless.
Relentless. Yeah. I love it.
Relentless. Because that's what it takes when you are launching a company, let alone a company that nobody even knows what you're talking about, or the magnitude of how many people it touches. So you can't give up. And there were many times when I was sitting at my desk thinking, oh my gosh, feeling overwhelmed. Like, what am I doing? Maybe I should go get a job. And, I said my prayers and I tried to follow the signs, because the universe and God will send you the signs. And if you are paying attention, you'll stay on the right path. It's very difficult when you are in business and you're trying to be strong, because our egos often get ahead of us and we think we know better, but then the universe kind of corrects everything, and one way or another, you're on the right road.
So you've been doing this for about 15 years. What about before that?
I had a marketing company at the time. We did database capturing, implementing a direct mail campaign. It was a very unique company. I started with my brother. He is a big brain IT guy, and he did all the programming. We gained accounts with the Indian casinos, and we created essentially it was a kiosk where they would put in their membership card for the casino, and it would track their play. And so then we would take that information and we would create the artwork for a mail piece. You got like a postcard or a certificate for a free dinner or a night stay or a weekend stay, depending on how much money that you spent. And we did this tiered section. So we had all this data. We created a direct mail piece and we sent it out. And we did very well until 2006-07, when everything kind of changed. The economy changed. People who had budgets for things like that went away. So it was a tough time.
I bet. So how do you measure success?
Well, most people would say your bank account. And I don't disagree. However, in my niche world, success for me is making sure that I'm creating a true value in whatever it is I'm offering. For me, our family suffered with celiac disease. My grandmother, my mother, and my sister, and then my cousin when she was 3. It was kind of a thing in our family, but we already dealt with it. The adults were doing their thing, and they knew what to eat, what not to eat. They were grown-ups. They had to account for themselves. So when the 3-year-old got involved and was put on a gluten-free diet, I had to make sure that we were giving her the right quality of food, making sure that we didn't create more issues for her. She had terrible eczema, and she would scratch it and it would bleed, and she was 3 and it was just awful. So we had to make sure that she was on the right diet and eating real food. We'll get to the whole real food later. But how do I measure success? Making sure that we're doing the right thing and make money at the same time. It's a trick.
So with success, which you are very successful, what about failure? I'm sure there had to be some of that along the way.
Goodness. In the beginning, when I was perfecting my recipe, I could have made a tiny home out of all of the bricks of bread that didn't work out. And that is no exaggeration. I had failure after failure, and those were the times that were so frustrating. Initially, I made the loaf of bread for her. It was a little bit sweeter. It was more of a kid bread. So knowing that I would have to have a loaf of bread or even a product line that was going to be acceptable to a range of people, it couldn't be a sweet bread. So that's where all of that trial and error was. Then gaining a place, finding the right place. All of those things were milestones, but, and funny story is, I was going to sign a lease on a particular Monday. And then that Sunday before my plan to sign this lease, I woke up in the morning and I just had this feeling like, I don't know about this building. I just had this feeling like maybe I should go drive around town and see what's available. Because the lease that I was going to sign was going to cost a lot of money for the grease trap and the lighting and all of the things that we're going to take to create a bakery. And it was going to be like construction from the ground up. And I loved the location. It was great. But I just felt like this little, you know, that little voice that talks to you and says, why don't you go look over here? Or maybe you should think about this. Well, I got in my car. It was raining. Rare time in California, of course. It was raining, and I drove around, and I found myself at the end of Escondido Boulevard. And there was this building that said for lease. And I thought, wow, this is weird. And so I sat in the parking lot and I called. It was a Sunday. And I thought, okay, well, I'll leave a message. Maybe they'll call me back on Monday. I hang up and I'm about to drive away and my phone rings. And yeah, they said, you're interested in the building? And I said, yeah, I'm in front of your building. I was wondering if you could tell me about it. And he said, well, I'm on my way down there. Would you like to see it? And I said, sure. So a few minutes later, he shows up, shows me the building. It was already primed for some food service to go into this space. I walked in, and you know when you're like looking for a home or you're looking for a place to do something significant in your life, and you walk in and you just feel like you're in the right place. That's what happened that morning. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this place. I feel like this is where I should be. So we walked around, we talked about, you know, what it was going to cost, and literally all I had to do was drop in my ovens, put in the bar, get some tables and chairs because I thought I was going to have a cafe at the time. It was simple. It was just the universe just directing me to that place. So when I think about things like that, and I'm going in the right place and I'm going in the right direction, it just makes all those crazy times where like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make payroll? Or the oven's broken. It's going to cost how much? Oh my gosh, my computer system's down. You want to do what? All
Right.
those things.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy owning your own business, and when you've got all these balances and things you have to take into account, and that kind of leads me to the next question, and that is, how do you balance work and home? Because that over the last 15 years, it's probably been quite a struggle.
It was a struggle, and when I started, my sons were in junior high and high school.
Yeah.
And I was
An important time in their lives.
Critical time.
Yeah.
Single mom, trying to figure it out. They were used to me having a very flexible schedule, having the marketing company, because I had everything was rolling. It was automatic. I had a great team in place, so I had a lot of free time and I had lots of flexibility. So I was mom all the time, and then I switched over to baker, and they were like, well, where's my mom? And why aren't you picking me up at school? And what about this? And what about that? And so they had a challenging time. They were often at the bakery with me, and I tried to have them slice bread or, clean the toilets or, for allowance or whatever it was at the time. And, they were boys. They wanted to go out and have fun. And boy, did they.
Are any of them involved in the business?
So after they graduated high school, they both came to work for me full time for a short time. My youngest son is a drummer and an artist, and he always had a band. So there were some times when he just decided, well, I'm going to go have band practice. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm leaving, and I'm going to leave the whole bakery wide open. I would show up and say, where's Jake?
Wow.
So there were lots of challenges. The good part was I got to spend time with them during this time together. They probably don't think it was that great, but it was a challenge. My eldest son still works with us. He has gone through all of the different departments of the bakery over time, and now he's a very detail-oriented QC manager. So he handles all of our quality control. We just had, every year we have an 8-hour audit, third party, food service. We have to comply with so many laws, rules, and regulations.
Yeah.
And it is very meticulous. So he handles all of that. We just had an audit on Friday. We passed. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, my team. So my cousin, she has a background in HR. She handles all of my HR and accounting. And she handles all of the grown-up stuff, because I get to play with recipes, I get to create logos, I get to do marketing, and then she does all of the grown-up stuff, making sure that we get paid, making sure our bills get paid. So we have a family business, and it's really, really nice. I'm very, very blessed.
Well, and I think part of leadership is you can't be everything. You have to have the right team that's actually going to fill the gaps that maybe you don't want to do or you don't like to do.
Or I'm terrible at.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's the good team is very important. So, do you ever experience any sort of resistance leading men in your field or at work?
So, yes. And I think at first everything's fine, because they're like open to, oh, this is a great idea. I can do so many things here. But then they arrive and they start listening to what I'm explaining, and then they do their own thing. So there's always a conflict in the beginning with most male employees, because they have their own way of thinking. Obviously, that's completely different than women. So I have learned to try to help them understand me in a way that makes sense to them. And I don't know how to explain that other than it's just been practice over the years. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, I hired a very talented baker from Cordon Bleu, graduated from Cordon Bleu. And she had never done gluten-free. And we bumped heads because she was trained in a manner to do certain things. And the gluten-free world has nothing to do with traditional baking. It's just a completely different animal. And it helped me in the beginning not to know anything about baking bread. I had never baked a loaf of bread in my life before I made gluten-free bread. But it was very helpful because I didn't have anything to go on. I didn't have any expectation on what bread was supposed to do or act, or how it was supposed to rise, or how many times you needed to knead it, all that stuff. So it was very helpful in my process. Not helpful when you hire people who you think could be great assets because they were trained differently. I also had a gentleman who was a baker for 25 years, and I thought maybe this will be a good person to come along on our team. Same situation. He had his way of doing things. He didn't agree with my process because he thought he could make it better in his own way that he'd been trained. And so I just said, I'm sorry, I just can't work like this. So we're wasting time, we're wasting money, and we just wasted all these batches of bread.
Right.
And it's just not working. So at the time when I let him go, I had to get back in the kitchen, but as a blessing, I had hired these 2 young men who were in the construction industry to do all the packaging. And so one of the guys said, hey, I want to try to help you, because it was just me in the kitchen. And I said, okay, great. So then, knowing that he was just in construction and he wanted to learn, that was like the perfect storm for me. So he started just catching on, and now he's like my best bread baker. And he's been with me for like 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's great. He's very happy at what he's doing. He puts his heart into it. If a batch doesn't come out, he gets so upset. And sometimes it's just I don't know, the flour is different or the water is different. Baking is a science. And so if you don't have everything just right, it's just not going to happen. So very passionate, very talented.
So let's talk role models and mentors. Do you have any that you can point back to and say, yeah, they really, really influenced me?
Definitely. Oh my goodness. There is a myth about self-made. It's not true. I think that anybody who says that I'm self-made isn't being truthful or honest with themselves, because when you are, in my case, going to do something you don't know anything about, you should surround yourself with people who know more about whatever it is that you're trying to do. And when I was telling people I made this bread in my kitchen, and can you give me some pointers on making bread? People want to help you. There are so many kind people out there. There was an owner of a restaurant, a French restaurant on Grand Avenue in Escondido, and he was so kind and so generous. And through the marketing company, because I had my office down the street, I would go to all these restaurants regularly. And so we developed a relationship of going to his restaurant and learning his, his model of his business model and his culture. And he had a French baker who made all the pastry. And so I said, well, can I ask your baker about bread? Because I'm having a problem with the yeast. And I said, I'm following all the rules and all this, that, and the other. And he's like, oh, yeah, just come on back. So I had this full-on conversation with his French baker. And he's like, well, just come and bake bread with me. He's like, bring all your stuff. I said, okay. So I brought my stuff in my little container and we made bread. And he's like, oh, this is so different. What is this? This is not bread. And so I thought, well, I'm sorry, but this is what I'm making for my family. And he's like, okay, well, let me help you. And he did. He helped me with the techniques of certain things that could transfer over baking, temperature, how much time, what to look for in the dough. Mm-hmm. It was very, very helpful. The owner of the restaurant actually helped me in sourcing some of the ingredients, because I was just buying them at Jimbo's because they had all these little bags that, like $20 for a bag of flour.
Right.
He's like, oh no, I have a source. You just give me a list and I will get them to you. So a week later, he calls me and says, oh, your stuff is here. I don't know what I was thinking, but he was like, well, here are your stuff. And there were like 4 50-pound bags sitting on his floor. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this stuff?
Better start baking.
Yeah. So it was amazing. And that was a game changer, because I had no concept of industrial baking or high, volume baking.
Right.
And he helped me. And he didn't ask for a single thing. It was wonderful. Our community is full of amazing people. And his circle of people had other people and led me to bakers who had industrial companies, like 40,000 square foot industrial baking company, gave me a tour. This is the equipment that you'll need. This is the person that you need to talk to for your equipment. Or here's a purveyor. Or don't deal with this guy. Or don't deal with that guy. Just great advice in my whole journey. Our community people want to help people.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some lessons learned that you have stumbled across or intentionally found that you would want to share with other women?
Oh boy. We don't have enough time. But ultimately, you have to trust your gut. Do your homework. And when people tell you that you can't, ask them why not. And then show them that you can. Don't give up. Because when you are on the right path and you know in your gut that you're doing the right thing and other people are telling you other things, just go with your gut and your homework. That's the best advice. If I could tell myself that 20 years ago, I would have avoided a lot of things.
So how do you think you got really pivoted into the baking of the bread? How did that actually happen that really kind of forced you to do that, or made you do that?
Oh, there were a lot of moments when I thought, why am I even thinking about doing this? every time I thought I shouldn't be going down this road because the economy is crashing and I was burning through my savings. And I had 2 sons who were in a junior high and high school. I thought every time that I should go get a job and forget this crazy idea, somebody would come through the door and say, can you make a birthday cake for my son? He's 8 years old and he's never had a birthday cake because he has celiac disease. And this mom would be crying in the bakery. And I would say, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to try. I don't have a recipe right now, but come back in 2 weeks. It happened all the time because people were having to have a very restricted diet. And they couldn't have this, that, or the other. I first started off with just being gluten-free, and I had lots of butter and lots of heavy cream and all my stuff. And a mom would say, well, can you make some chocolate chip cookies with no butter? Or can you make your bread with no eggs? There were all these questions. And they were not because they were being finicky, but because they had a child who had a terrible reaction to some of these ingredients. And I never said no. I just said, give me a couple weeks and I will call you when I can provide something that is delicious. Because if it's not delicious, I'm not going to put my name on it, and I'm not going to make you eat it.
So you were sort of forced or voluntold that you were going to try new things.
Yes.
And it was just, an evolution of trial and error, I guess.
Right. And I let the public come to me and tell me what they wanted. And that was the driving force, the demand of what they wanted.
Wow. Okay, so let's switch gears for a second here. So you walk into a room of young women that want to be entrepreneurs or leaders. What would you tell them?
Yay, and thank you, and I'm excited for you. But do your homework and budget, and then add like 50%.
There you go.
Because it always costs so much more than you anticipate.
Yeah.
Always.
So what's next for you?
Well, whatever the universe has in store. There are a couple of things that have crossed my path literally in the last month. And doing my homework, creating a budget, plus 50%. And I don't really know. I know that we are going to continue making the best gluten-free, allergen-free, also vegan by default products that we can make and provide to our community. And I don't really know. We'll see. I can't wait.
Interesting. So the world is your oyster.
Can be. Yes. Oysters are gluten-free.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and you sharing a little bit about yourself, and really interesting story how you got started with that 3-year-old niece, did you say?
She's my cousin, but people call her my niece.
Yeah. Well, see, I was thinking niece because 3 years old. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that she just started the journey, and now she's 21, you said?
She is, yeah.
Does she still eat your bread?
She does.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
Thanks.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host Rebecca Jones.